When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Goblin YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the new show, House of the Dragon, and what I really want to see come from the new TV show, some of the questions that I wanted answered. And I have 5 questions that I'm looking forward to on how the showrunners are going to answer them. And if we're going to get any more information into some of the things that are kind of left a little bit more mysterious in Fire and Blood, or will it go kind of a similar route as the book did, and we never really find out these things, we're left to kind of put the pieces together. So the first question I'm very interested to see about is going to be the council after Viserys' death where they crown Aegon. Because we get a little bit of this, but we don't know what happens to the one person there that was kind of helping, or was on Rhaenyra's side, right? And we don't know everything that goes on in this conversation. We don't know what was said, really. We know what ends up happening right at the end of crowning Aegon, but I want to know how they're going to address this in the show. How are we going to get to that place? What's going to be the reasoning behind why the Hightowers kind of end up taking on the throne and all that stuff and all that. Now, that leads me to my second question. My second question is, how are they going to handle the Hightowers? Because in the book, Fire and Blood, it's kind of a mixed bag. You know, you kind of see both sides to it. Are they going to try and paint the Hightowers as very much villains in this show, or are they going to try to do it from a mutually kind of, they're both kind of doing their own thing, but they're both kind of wrong in one way or another? But I'm interested to see how they handle the Hightowers, because for me, I'm someone that hates the Hightowers. I really do not like them. They're some of my least favorite characters in all of A Song of Ice and Fire, whether that be lore or the main story. And I also think they had some kind of play with the Maesters as well, as we'll talk about later on in this video. But I want to know if they're going to do kind of the Lannister treatment in season 1, where, you know, they're not hiding that the Hightowers are the kind of the villains of the series, and maybe flesh it out a little bit later. I'm interested to see how the showrunners are going to handle that aspect of it, and if they're going to do all that correctly. For me, I would like it to be where they actually kind of have both the reasoning for both sides, and then you were kind of led to make your own decision. It's not like we're pointed to hate the Hightowers or Rhaenyra. But yeah. Now, number 3 is something I briefly mentioned, and if you are new to the channel or you're kind of a recent subscriber or whatnot, I would very much recommend watching my Maester Conspiracy videos, because they talk a lot about the Dance of the Dragons, and it's something that I'm very interested to see if they do in the show. Because there's a lot of moments in the Dance of the Dragons, and the build-up as well, that point to the Maesters kind of doing some sus shit. And if you don't know my Maester Conspiracy, basically I did about a 3 or 4 part like series on it, and talking about, you know, how the Maesters were trying to get rid of the dragons, as well as trying to get the Targaryens out of power. So for me, when you look at that, I'm really interested to see how the show is going to do certain events, because if we look at the Baratheons, right, this is one of the first events of the Dance of the Dragons where Rhaenyra sends one of her children to go meet with the Baratheons to get their allegiance. Rhaenyra had thought this would be a pretty easy person to get on their side, as they had in the past. And, you know, her son ends up going there, and things don't go well. But the big key thing here is, when there's this letter that is given to the Baratheon Lord, and the Baratheon Lord can't actually read. The Maester ends up whispering it in his ear. We don't know what the letter says, but it kind of angers Lord Baratheon. So I'm interested to see what we're going to get in that scene, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Other stuff would be kind of how they handled the peace talks with Rhaenyra. The Maesters did a very bad job, and almost kind of felt like they were wanting the war to happen. So that was something else that I wanted to talk about in my 5 questions that I want House of the Dragon to answer. And I'm going to be interested if they try to touch on any of that. I don't know if they will, just based upon, because that will have a big impact on the story right now of A Song of Ice and Fire. That would be something I'd be interested to see if they even dabble into. Now, number 4. haven't actually looked up where they're going to end the show at. So I'm very interested where the show is going to end. Is it going to end with, you know, Rhaenyra being eaten, and then, you know, Aegon the Second and Aegon the Third taking over, and then Aegon the Third basically taking over after? Are they basically, where I would end it would be where Aegon the Second gets removed, right? He gets poisoned or whatever, and then Aegon the Third takes the crown, and that's where I'd probably end it. But I am interested to see where they're going to go with it and where they feel that there's a correct point to stop the show. Also, let me know where you guys think any of these questions are going to go. Where do you guys think the show will end? What do you think they're going to do with the high towers and all that stuff? Let me know. Now, another thing that I had a question of, this will be my 5th question, is Daemon's relationship with Alicent / Otto. So in the books Fire and Blood, there is actually this rumor that Daemon actually slept with Alicent and took her maidenhead. Now, in the show, it would be interesting if they do this, because it would make a lot more sense why Daemon and Otto hate each other. Because in the books, it's really, we don't really know why Otto hates Daemon. I've made a video on this as well, because it's just awfully sus why Otto would just blatantly hate Daemon. Unless Daemon actually did sleep with Alicent. We're just never given any confirmation. This never comes up really again. It's really kind of mentioned once and then never comes up again. So I'd be interested to see if they do anything with that, if Daemon does end up sleeping with Alicent or not. Or maybe they kind of explain why Otto doesn't like Daemon as much. I have my own reasonings, and again, I think it links back to the Maester conspiracy stuff. So again, I would check out those videos if you wanted to see my reasoning on that. But that is kind of my 5 questions that I would like to see answered by House of the Dragon. And let me know what other stuff you guys want to be answered from the show. If there's any like kind of context information you guys want to be known. If there's more like of Rhaenyra's stuff when she takes King's Landing that you want to see, how she kind of ruled and all that. But yeah, let me know what you guys are looking forward to in House of the Dragon and all that stuff. So bye guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.